What's up, guys? I'm finally back from yesterday's ARG and it should be filming on a regular schedule. I've been kind of off and on lately, but it should be going back to normal starting next week. I think I only have one more video coming this week, sometime during the week, but starting next week it should go back to normal, especially during the next set drop. Everything should be very, very constant. I've just been having a lot of stuff going on, so I'm still taking care of that. I want to give a huge shout out to Cody, also known as Cocaine. He's another YouTuber on here that I got to meet at ARG. He's an extremely awesome guy. He's actually everything I expected him to be as a person, let alone just a player. But we had a couple games on the side, which is a lot of fun as well. He's just a really great guy. Now, I'm not just saying that to be kind of like cheesy or whatever because I just met him. I genuinely kind of really wanted to meet him for a while now, and I did, so it was really awesome. The event ran really smoothly. We didn't seem to have any problems, so for anyone wondering about anything like technicality-wise, it was totally fine. I think they did a top 4 split, so I'm not sure what ended up topping. I know there was a Melgus, a Vlad, I think it was 2 Vlads, and then an Arla Knight, so I think that's what top 4 was. This deck went X2, so it was 6 rounds, X2. My only 2 losses were against Vlad. One of the games I lost, I had the guy at 100 life. I swung with Nyarlathotep for 800 and he had a full mana base open, so he just out-healed my 8 and then just killed me off next turn because I was at 1600, and then so he burned me for 10, and it was just a perfect amount of damage and I couldn't get enough damage in. And then one of my other losses, I had 4 8/8s on board with game next turn, and the guy was top decking, and the only card he could have drawn was Sign to the Future to stop me enough to be able to burn me the turn right after, and he drew into Sign of the Future, so it was a good game. Both times I felt like I had pretty good control all throughout the whole game. It was just, you know, a little not enough either or, so I'm still happy with how I performed against those matchups. I just wish I had a better side. I think I only sided against one of my friends, Josh, in the last round. He was playing the time stop kind of Alice roll deck, and I sided into Abdul and Dark Pulse because that deck uses a lot of 1-drops. So I think I didn't really side throughout the entire tournament. Oh, I sided into Rezzard at 1.2 with Deathscythe against another. I think it was against one of the Vlad players, but it didn't really help. I think I ended up losing that match anyway. But yeah, with anything of that sort out of the way, I'm just gonna hop straight into the deck profile, show it off. The deck doesn't really have a name. You can just kind of name it Stealth Kaguya. I thought it'd be funny to name it Kaguya and just kind of cap the BOO, because it'd be kind of like, you know, zombies and stealth monsters are scary, so Kaguya. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of what I was going for. Don't judge me. Anyway, let's get into the deck profile. So starting off with the ruler side, we have Seer of the Blue Moon. Her J-Activate is to pay 0, and you can only do this if you put a treasury item into your field this turn. I don't main any treasuries, but I have 2 of them sided. It's just 2 Robe of the Fire Rats. Her continuous effect is the reason why I decided to play her. It says you may pay 1 to put a card into your chance standby area. Note that this card specifically says you may pay 1 to put chance standby cards into your chance standby area, but this has been errated into any card into your chance standby area, so you can do it with just like a Rasputin or a stealth monster or whatever you want. Anything you put in the chance standby area will cost 1. Of course, I take advantage of this by doing it with stealth monsters because it makes them easier to trigger later on. My stone lineup is 1 Little Red the Pure Stone. This card has actually been extremely great in just any deck I've been using lately. Before I kind of shrugged it off. Everyone's always used Little Pure Stone, but it was just because you might as well have. It's now like my preferred stone. With Arla Knights being such a popular deck and them always having at least 2 bows up, being able to shoot my 8/8s, my Nyarlathoteps and my Carmillas, a lot of my monsters happen to be 8/8. And being able to just shoot them with 2 arrows is really frustrating. So this makes it 1,000, and sometimes they don't really see it coming, so they waste both the arrows, and you just chase with the little redstone, and not only do they waste their arrows, but your monster stays alive as well. Grusbalesta, which is of course key in any Darkstone deck. I think there's no reason not to play this. It kills Percivals, it kills, you can double up to kill Elvish Priest. It's just always been a really good card. Sometimes I run Mozart too, and there's been times where I just play Mozart and then kill it with this on purpose just to kill something of theirs. And that always works extremely well as well. 4 Magic Stone of Scorched Bales for black-red. I wanted Guinevere's to have some kind of digging power, as well as cards like Flame for decks like the 28 Regalia Kane deck and whatnot. So I thought Fire was really essential. And then 4 just Darkness Magic Stones just for the pure dark. I didn't want to be into split range, so I didn't want to mix any other color in there. 6 special stones is kind of a lot, so I'm still kind of in split range, but most of the time when somebody sees just the plain mono stones, they don't want to risk setting into split anyway. I wouldn't personally either, so that's just the stone lineup. My Resonator lineup for this deck is absolutely huge. I run 3 Guineveres because Guinevere is just great. She works off so many cards in this deck, like Rukh Egg, Rasputin, Mozart. There's just so many cards and combos you can have with this card that make it just feel free. I also side Deathscythes for Blazer and Rezzard, and so sometimes being able to discard those just makes her a free +2 as well. Not to mention she's a fire body for all the incarnates. I also run 3 Rasputin. I don't like 4 Guinevere or 4 Rasputin. A lot of the Cthulhu decks run that ratio, but I've never been kind of a fan of it. I hate drawing into Rasputin's late game, and I sometimes even at 3 see it at really bad times. But most of the times, if I have a Guinevere, I could just mitigate that and kind of do the best I can to kind of draw into something else. Rasputin has just been always a key card, of course. There's also a lot of combos with her as well with the stealth monsters, mainly Underground Dragger, but I've never liked it at 4. And then 2 Rukh Egg. I was at one point not going to play Rukh Egg at all, but I like being able to grab a Guinevere if I hadn't seen one in the game, and I like being able to grab Hastur. It's also just a good incarnate target, so I just kind of stood with 2. 2 Mozart. I was always on the fence of whether I should run this or not, but especially after yesterday, I think this card is just great. There was a time where I wouldn't have game if I didn't get over my opponent's Cheshire Cat, and there was nothing I could kill it with targeting, and that was the only monster in my way. And I drew into Mozart, so I just played it, Grusbalesta it, killing the Cheshire, and since it was their only Resonator, and then just attacked for game. So, of course, there's a million other good advantages too. You can sack it for Naya, and you almost get like a Hastur effect if they only have one monster on the field, because they lose a monster on the field and a card in their hand. So that's always really strong as well. 3 Lora. Lora lets you search a vampire in your deck when you summon it. Mostly, I do it to search another copy of herself because she's one of the best incarnate targets I think there are, because you play her, get another Lora, sack her, and let's say Rasputin, returning the Rasputin to your hand for like a Nyarlathotep, and you essentially get a free 8/8 because you replaced the Lora and you added the Rasputin back to your hand, so you didn't lose any cards, card advantage in general. There's of course one less monster on the field, but you have a new 8/8 and you get to look at their hand and discard a card, so it's just really great. 3 Carmilla. I wanted as much removal as I can, and I like 2 for 1, so when I summon Carmilla and destroy one of their cards, they then have to use another one of their cards to kill Carmilla, and it's just really great because it goes with the whole wasting their resource. If I'm dumping their hand the entire time and using cards like this that kill their cards and then they have to use more cards to kill my cards, it's just going to get them to no hand really, really quickly or force them to deactivate. And of course with Grusbalesta and Flame of the Outer World, I don't have really any problem getting around J-Rulers anyway. 2 Hastur. I played 3 at one point, but I really, really hated 3. I had ran 2 yesterday, and I found it to be the perfect number. This card is just really annoying sometimes because if they have Leviathan on the field and they sack their whole field, like I at one point I summoned this against someone's Percival and Lancelot, and they had Leviathan up, and I didn't anticipate that they would sack both the Resonators because I thought they'd be cool with just losing the Lancelot. But they sacked both for Leviathan in the chase, so when I entered, I had no choice but to kill myself. And it's kind of frustrating sometimes when you don't have a choice but to kill your own Hastur. So I think 2 is definitely good. I wouldn't run more. 4 Nyarlathotep. This is the reason why I decided to play this deck. This card is just absolutely insane. Looking at your opponent's hand gives you so much advantage in general. Thanks to TCG Tavern and actually Cody, they featured me in the very first round, and I was playing against the Grim player, and excuse me, you can see at one point I use Naya and I write down every single card in your hand because that's a legal action. You're allowed to write down what you see, and it just gave me so much advantage the whole game because I knew exactly what to anticipate, what his turn plays would be, and I actually can't wait to rewatch that feature match. I'm pretty sure I made a couple mistakes, but it's really hard to play on camera because you're a little nervous and whatnot. He also had made a couple mistakes himself, but he was a great player in general. Like that, I mean, just niceness wise too. It was one of the nicest players I'd ever played against. If he did make a misplay or anything, he just kind of, took it like as a, okay, well, that was my mistake, and, I have to kind of just power through it. And some people either kind of lose their cool and act kind of rude sometimes and stuff like that. So it was really nice to play against someone so nice. So shout out to him as well. I'm so sorry I don't remember your name. I'm normally good with names, but at tournaments, I just get so excited with everything else that I don't even pay attention to. The only person I remember is the Vlad player that beat me. His name was Ryan, and that's because one of my other friends is named Ryan, and I thought I was playing him, but it happened to be someone else. So sorry about that. Getting finally to the stealth monsters, I have 3 Merlins. Merlin is one of the greatest reasons of why I decided to play this deck. Merlin is a stealth monster, so I could set it with 1. And his effect is if your opponent discards a card, you can flip him in and do -7/-7 to one of the Resonators. And this is exceptionally great right now because Guinevere makes your opponent's Guineveres make them discard anyway. So it's like a free summon killing Guineveres your opponent plays. And of course, I wouldn't rely on that only. So of course, my Nyarlathotep and I run Spiral of Despair as well. Discard cards from my opponent's hand. There was one point where I think it's in the feature match, but I'm not sure. It might have been one of my other matches. I opened nothing but stealth monsters really early on, and I had like 2 Underground Draggers and 2 Merlins. And so I set 2 Merlins, set 2 Underground Draggers by turn 4, and then I played Nyarlathotep. He stoninged in response. Okay, it wasn't the Grim player because he didn't have Dark. They stoninged in response to kill my Nyarlathotep before I look at their hand. I then looked at his hand and discarded a card and flipped in 2 Merlins and 2 Underground Draggers because my Naya went to the graveyard, so it meets Underground Draggers requirements, so 2 of those went in, and then he discarded a card, so 2 Merlins went in. So even if you don't want to use the effect for the -7/-7 because it is optional, it's just so annoying for, like, imagine they use their 1 stoning to kill your 1 Nyarlathotep and you get 2 6/6s and 2 7/7s just for free. It's absolutely ridiculous, and even without their effects, the fact that they're just such big bodies let you beat them down so quickly. One of the Vlad games I won that I ended up losing the match against, it was the same thing. I think I just flipped in like a bunch of stealth monsters and he couldn't out heal all the damage. So it's always good to just be able to push as well. And then I run 4 Underground Dragger. This card is absolutely insane, and it's super underrated. This card says it's of course a stealth monster. I have to set it for 1 first before using it. Mind you also that stealth monsters, unlike chance standbys, if you set them, you can flip them the same turn if you meet the requirement. So when I set the Underground Draggers, let's say that same turn a monster of mine dies, I could just flip it in and just have a free 7/7, so it's almost like I didn't lose anything. And so what Underground Dragger does is it's a little more complicated. If your opponent has done damage to you in general or to anything at all, if you've taken damage this turn, whether it's a Resonator or you, and a monster has been sent from your field to the graveyard, you can flip an Underground Dragger, and then he kills the monster that dealt damage. So the requirement to flip him in general is just a card's been sent to your graveyard, a Resonator from your field has been sent to the graveyard, so that's how you get him for free. But if you want to destroy something, you have to have taken damage from something, and then of course the requirement of something being sent to the graveyard has to still be fulfilled. But what makes this so great is there's times where, let's say I go second and they go first turn Guinevere, pass, you set Merlin first, so the Merlin down here, you set Merlin. They then go Lancelot, swing on their turn 2, you take 6, they pass. You then set Underground Dragger and let's say summon Rasputin. If they go Lancelot swing on their next turn, or they can of course play a Snow White as well, but if they go, let's say, Lancelot swing and you block the Rasputin, and then you flip an Underground Dragger attempting to kill their Lancelot, and then they use Guinevere's effect to sack the Lancelot to draw 2 and discard 1, you're still essentially getting rid of the Lancelot, and then when they discard, you flip in the Merlin and kill the Guinevere, and now you have a free 7/7 and a 6/6, and they have 3 stones open, and they can either summon that Snow White, get 500 more damage in because you don't want to block that since you can attack into it with Underground Dragger the next turn, or they just have to play a defense monster, a monster that can block and then end their turn. So it's really amazing of how much this card does, even in a scenario where, let's say it's turn 2 and they didn't have a Guinevere turn 1, and you have an Underground Dragger and let's say a Lora, because sometimes that happens as well. They go turn 2, Lancelot attack, let's say you took it, you then summon your Lora past turn, they tap their 3rd stone, and then they go summon Snow White, attack you, dealing 300 to Lora, and so your Lora dies and you take 500 damage from Snow White. Then they attempt to attack with Lancelot direct. You flip in Underground Dragger, destroying Snow White because it dealt damage and your Lora has been sent to the graveyard, and then you block the Lancelot, and because they summon Snow White and they're tapped out, he can't buff up to 700, and you block the Lancelot and kill that too. So your 1 Underground Dragger gets to kill the Snow White and the Lancelot, which is absolutely ridiculous. And because aggro is the meta right now, I feel really comfortable having all these monsters that are super strong, and with such amazing effects to just destroy all my opponent's field, waste their resource, while I'm dumping their hand the entire time. It's like the perfect combination. Moving on to the spells, I have 4 Spiral of Despair. I tried 3 at one point because sometimes 4 would feel like too much, but I regretted moving it down, so I moved it back up to 4. Spiral of Despair is just really good because if you open this in Merlin, you go turn 1 Merlin, and then they summon their first monster. Unless it's a Guinevere, which I don't like going for really early game. If it's anything else other than Guinevere, let's say a Percival, I would turn 2 Spiral, they would discard 2 cards, and then normally if they have Percival, they get a Regalia, which means they're using up more of their hand anyway. And so you set Merlin first turn, they go Percival, grab a Regalia, let's say play 2 Regalias because they already have one in their hand. That leaves them at like 3 cards in hand. And then you go turn 2 Spiral, killing 2 more cards in their hand, leaving them with 1, and then flipping in Merlin and killing the Percival. So they have 1 card in hand, they're going to draw 1 more card, and you're totally fine because you still have like 5 cards in hand. So the combo works extremely well. Spiral is always good late game as well, just because sometimes against red decks they'll summon Rukh Egg, and I never want to Grusbalesta because I'm scared to give them a card that they want, like a Little Dread or a Susanoo. So when you have Spiral, you can comfortably just kill the Rukh Egg so they search, and then you dump the card out of their hand anyway. 3 Stoning to Deaths. I played 2 at first, but 3 became like the perfect number. I'm so glad I switched to 3 because I always had it when I needed it. I wasn't seeing it enough at 2, so I'm really glad I was able to make that switch. 3 Flame in the Outer World, this works really well as well. It's mainly for cards like Kain and Arla and Melgus. I don't really use it on Resonators too often because Snow White for some reason is seeing a little less play too. The Arla Knights aren't using it as much anymore. I still like Snow White, I would run it myself, but maybe they thought of something better. I haven't really seen the update to the deck, but Flame is just always going to be good for J-Rulers anyway. It also kills like Lancelot and Guinevere's and whatnot. And then my last spell was Necronomicon. People haven't been playing this card, and I was against it as well, but seeing as how red's so dominant in this format, it's really hard to have enough kill spells for all their rush. So whenever I've used all my flames and used all my stonings and I just draw into Necronomicon and play it, I feel so comfortable that they're never going to get damage in ever again, because if they deactivate, I'll just flame it. If they summon a monster, I'll just stoning it. And flooding the field with Hasturs and Carmillas after they get some damage in actually feels really nice because their enters don't go off. And it's almost a nice thing because I can start flooding the field with Hasturs that have died and stuff like Guinevere and whatnot, and I never have to worry about actually having to kill my own cards if they don't have any and just start pushing in damage, which is a problem I had with the deck originally. I sometimes felt like I couldn't get enough damage in, and this just kind of helps solve that issue. The only thing you have to be careful about is if you have Underground Dragger in your stealth standby, a card can't be sent to your graveyard anymore because it gets removed from the game instead, so you can't flip it in. So make sure to either try to trigger that beforehand or just manually summon them as beaters. Also, if you summon like a Mozart from the graveyard or a Rukh Egg, make sure not to use the effect when it's destroyed because it gets removed from the game instead, so it never hits the graveyard. They just become kind of chump blockers, which I've always actually liked. Having them on the field just makes me feel more comfortable. It's also nice to have like a Mozart against one player. I had a Mozart, 2 Guineveres, and a little redstone open, and I pumped the Mozart with +2, and then recovered, pumped it with +2 again, so it's now at 6, and then used both Guineveres to pump it up to 14 and swung in for 1400, and it just did like half of the opponent's life, and it was really great because I don't mind that Mozart getting banished at the end of the turn or after it deals damage because of the Guinevere's effects anyway, because it's just a Mozart. So getting in 1400 damage for free and then being able to just recover the Guinevere's and do it off the next kind of Rasputin I summon or whatever small thing I have in the graveyard actually feels really great. So Necronomicon was definitely MVP. It really helped a lot. Lastly, for the side deck, I have Ebony Prophet, which is of course Abdul. I put this in for the Grim matchup. My feature match was against Grim, but the guy didn't have a side specifically against my Kaguya deck. He had told me he hadn't prepared to face a lot of black because he was so ready for red. And so I felt bad siding against someone that wasn't going to side against me, so we just didn't side. But this would have been a great option to put in had we actually sided. Rezzard, I play Rezzard because not only do I have all this stealth monsters, but it works really well against Valentina, which is somewhat of a rogue deck. Any deck that has a lot of recovery. Normally when I dump all of Valentina's hand, she'll just summon all these Cheshires, use a bunch of forces, and her hand gets full again. And so the only solution I found is if I get rid of her field and her hand all at once. And of course Rezzard does that with his God Art, so I like having him in there. Also, she always has a bunch of chump blockers, and it's nice to steal all of those Resonators. Blazer, of course, because I need it with Deathscythe for any kind of Kain Regalia deck or anything like that. I like having it in the side because it makes me feel safe. He's also actually going to have a more important role coming up soon in my side deck because I realize what I really want to take out. 4 Deathscythes are still going to be staying in. Deathscythe has just been really good because it stops all those rush decks, stops Melgus, makes Blazer more live. It's also really easily discarded with Guinevere. Works good to mill with Rezzard, so it just has so many uses in this deck. It's just really great. I had put in 4 Marybell because I wanted to destroy the Armis bow, but I never actually got to play against many Arlenite decks. I think I only played against Cody, which was using it, but it wasn't in the tournament. It was just for fun. And we weren't siding because we didn't have a lot of time anyway. He was always setting up a stream, and I was just about to play my next match. So we would just play like one quick game in between with no siding. And so I didn't end up using Marybell at all. I think it's actually and I won the 2 games I played against him because we weren't siding, and I think his side would have given him a better matchup. But I noticed that I already have a really good matchup against that deck, even with the bow, so I don't think I have to worry about it too much anymore. So I'd much rather take these out and put Lancelot and side Blazer to have all the red, and use the Lancelots against Vlad. I might actually put more cards in the side that help against it as well, but it might just be 4 Lancelots for now. Because I really had a bad matchup against Vlad. It felt really weird to never have swiftness and just have him out heal. I might do like 3 Lancelots or in a Blazer Gill Rabus or something too. I'm sorry, Blazer the Eater of Dimensions. I'm not too sure about what I'm going to do, but I definitely want to replace this with some type of like rush engine so that against Vlad I could just side into the aggro monsters, have all the red on my stones anyway, and just rush them down. 2 Robe of the Fire Rat. If you really want, you can main at least 1 or 2 of these. It's not bad because Red's seeing a lot of play now anyway, and Kaguya has a really good advantage with this card. What you can do is essentially Kaguya can deactivate when you play this card, and the only deck you don't want to do that against is Blazer because of course they'll just kill her. And Kaguya's deactivate side says you can change the element attribute on any specific card to any color you want. So on any treasury, I mean. So how this treasury says prevent all damage from target fire resonator until the end of turn, I can make the fire into water or dark or light or whatever I want. So if you play against Blazer and you can't deactivate, Robe of the Fire Rat is still live because Blazer of course makes all their cards red, so they're of course using red cards, and you know that even if you don't deactivate, you're going to be preventing damage from the red cards. If you go against a deck like Valentina that doesn't have any fire resonators, you can play Robe of the Fire Rat and then deactivate and then make it water every time you need to, and they can't kill Kaguya because she can't battle, so they can't force to attack it with Gleipnir. They can't do anything to stop it. If you're going against a light deck, same aspect. Their light's mostly mixed with fire now anyway, so it's live against that as well. But you can just deactivate and they can't do anything about it. So the only deck you can't deactivate against is Blazer, which doesn't matter because they use red anyway. And you can deactivate it against every other deck, so it makes it more live. I was just scared to main it, but I should have tested it a bit more. It might have actually worked really good, but I felt comfortable with it in the side. And then 2 Dark Pulse. I'm really sad because this card completely destroyed my friend Josh's field. I felt like so bad doing it because he legit had like a Scheherazade. He was gonna like Alice World me to death like I think the next turn, and he had like maybe 8 1-drops on the field, and he was tapped out, and he had just searched 1 card with Scheherazade, and I literally just drew and I was like Dark Pulse and just wiped his whole board out. And it was just so mean, and I don't know, like, I mean, I've always liked this card, but I've never had so much destruction off of it. I've always killed like 2 to 3 things, maybe 4, but he genuinely had like 7 Resonators on board, and it was just like Dark Pulse, and it felt so good. And he was even trying to get prepared for it, and he was summoning Glindas, but every time he had a Glinda, I had like a Carmilla or something to kill it, so he just couldn't keep up with all the destruction, and I wiped out his board. And I had sided Abdul as well, and so when I flipped Abdul, I think game 3, and he can't get Scheherazades enter, his Cheshire Cats don't work, his Familiars don't work, his Alice World even won't work if he plays it. So it was just kind of an unfair matchup. He couldn't really do anything, but it was a fun match. We were laughing the whole time and having a good time. So that's it for the spells and the side deck and the Resonators. I hope you guys really like this deck. So thanks for watching, guys. This was my Stealth Kaguya deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been keeping it a secret for a long time, and I know a lot of people have been anticipating it, but it's totally free to use for you guys now. I've actually been looking at a lot of the shadows in the next set, and I'm kind of thinking about incorporating maybe like a Shadow Kaguya build. So this might change frequently, and I might do an update to it later, but I'm not 100% sure. I was going to be going to the December ARG, the December ARG in Vegas, but I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to go anymore. Some of the issues I've been talking about are kind of coming up again, and I'm doing my best to kind of try to get everything kind of going with being able to do all these videos and go to all these events while managing that stuff. But it's just being a little hard, and it's stuff that I have to prioritize, so I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you guys updated. The story video is still going to be coming this week. I have one coming either on Wednesday or Friday. If I don't have the time to be able to do it on Wednesday, I might just do it on Friday. So it'll be this video and Friday just to kind of pin out the ends of the week. I'm not 100% sure what's going to be coming next week. I'll probably ask you guys again what you guys want to see. There will be regular content coming, like the way I used to do it, where it's like every single day for a deck profile or anything like that. Once the new set drops, it's just because there's been kind of not so much talk about lately. On top of me having all these issues going on, it's been hard to kind of find a time to do something. And I've always said before, I don't like doing a video for the sake of doing a video. I want to make sure that I'm having fun so that you guys can hear it, you know, kind of in my tone and kind of have fun along with it. It doesn't make sense to me to kind of sound like I'm either sleepy or tired or just sound kind of bored doing it, because that's just going to be a waste of the video. It's going to be a waste of my time and a waste of your time for you guys to watch it. And I'm not about that life. I'm not about to have people just kind of be like, oh, he's active because he posts, you know, every 2 days, but the content just isn't what it should be, and it just doesn't make sense to do that. So I'd rather, you know, update you guys and let you guys know that there won't be a video this week, or, you know, that I am going through some personal things and it might not be a good time for me to be filming, and kind of keep my distance and sort that stuff out, and then come back, you know, 100% and give you guys the content you guys deserve for putting out your time to watch all my videos, rather than just do it for the sake of doing the videos. So I hope you guys understand, and I hope that makes sense. I will definitely catch you guys sometime this week for that story video. I'll update you guys on Facebook, and of course anywhere else that you guys might have me, like on Nitty or something. And until then, I will catch you guys next time.